loves, and welcome to my video. I'm so very grateful to have you here, and I'm very excited to chat with you because I think the message I'm going to share today is very important. It's not talked about enough, and it's not easy to swallow either, but it's a message that has changed my entire life in terms of my relationships, the opportunities I have, and just really anything you can think of has been changed by this one realization and mindset shift, which is that you have more power than you think, and it's because you have the freedom to choose. Now, I'm sure we've all heard the quote, "What you're not changing, you're choosing." And while you may or may not agree with this or realize this, everything in your life today is a direct result of the choices that you've made or the lack of choices you've made. And before I really get into it, I want to address an objection that I'm sure I'm going to receive, and that is, but Gracie, what about the things that we can't choose or change in our lives, like where we were born, our family, our socioeconomic status, our skin color, our gender, the wars going on in the world, etc., etc. The list goes on forever. And so I want to be crystal clear with the claim I'm making in this video. I'm not claiming that you can control everything in the world. There are going to be many, many, many external events that you will have no control over as an individual, although even that's debatable. But I digress. My point today is that the only thing you will ever have control over and be able to change is the way that you react to things. And that is huge because in that list I named earlier about the family you were born into, your skin color, your gender, all of the things that you weren't able to choose, you have a choice about how you see them and about how you allow them to impact your life. You can choose to see these things as limitations, or you can choose to see them as just facts that are accepted by you. And despite these facts, or maybe even because of these facts, you're still going to go on and continue to achieve everything you dream of. And there's so many examples of people who have been able to turn something that's stereotypically a limitation into something that empowers them. I mean, think of Oprah Winfrey. She was born into poverty, she endured abuse, and she was told she would never be able to make it on TV. Look at her today. Malala, she was shot in the head because she was a girl that decided to go to school in her country. Now imagine if that stopped her. And obviously that's a little extreme. None of us hopefully are getting shot in the head, but these are examples of people. I mean, Stephen Hawking, he had ALS. If he had let an illness define him, physics would not look the same today. And you can go on and on and on with people who have never allowed what other people view as limitations to be their own limitations. The fact is, there will always be things in your life that you can't control. And even not the things that make you up, even things like the political party, although of course you contribute by voting, so make sure you are educated and vote. But the party that is in power, the way your parents treat you, you could go on and on with examples of things, tragic things, or things you wish were different that you can't control. But still, in every one of those situations, you still do have a choice. You still have so much more power than you think. You have the power to choose your reaction. And in many situations, you have the power to choose your actual presence in the situation. For instance, if you're in a relationship and your partner is not treating you the way that you feel you deserve, maybe they're lying to you, betraying you, manipulating you, or maybe they're just simply not living up to your standards because you feel that you're giving on your part, you're loving unconditionally, and you're not receiving it back. And well, while you cannot change your partner and you cannot force them to treat you however you believe you deserve to be treated, you can leave, you can remove yourself. And of course, that's easier said than done in so many cases. Especially, I have a personal story, which we'll get to in a little bit, where it doesn't feel so easy. But this is the truth, whether or not you acknowledge it. And I feel so harsh saying this, but this is truly what I wish I knew when I was in a horrible relationship, that I had power to leave. I had the power to choose to be there. Anyways, we shall get there. I'm getting ahead of myself. The point is, you can leave, or you can at least change your mindset on the situation. And I mean, in the most extreme example, there's a man, his name is Viktor Frankl, and he lived through the Holocaust. one of the most tragic things, horrific things a human could ever experience on this earth. And instead of letting what was going on around him control him, he didn't let it. He's written a book called The Man's Search for Meaning, and I highly recommend this book. But when Viktor Frankl endured everything, people he loves around him getting killed, getting fed the most horrific meals, barely at all ever, but when it was something horrific. He chose to see beauty in the situation. He chose, and I know this sounds crazy, but he forgave the Nazi guards. He forgave people, and he chose to see it as an opportunity to control his attitude. He said, they can take absolutely everything away from me. They can take away my clothes, my family, the people I love. Like, they can take everything away from him, but the one thing they will never be able to take away is his attitude and his response to what they were doing. And I just think that is such a powerful example. I have goosebumps right now because, like, really let that sink in. Like, this man went through the Holocaust. People are getting killed left and right. He's being starved to death, worked to death, and he still chose to see beauty, humanity, and forgiveness in that situation. And I believe that opens up a pathway for all of us to follow, because most of us are in situations where we're not being treated that way. And so I think Viktor Frankl, I'm very grateful for him and his thinking, because we all can choose the same thing. And really, moving on, the biggest thing you probably didn't have any control over up until this point in your life is your belief system. I'm reading the book Letting Go by David Hawkins, which I highly, highly recommend. And he writes, talking about beliefs, their origins were often the early childhood training from parents, family, and teachers, as well as dribbles and drabbles of information we picked up from playmates, newspapers, movies, television, radio, church, novels, and the automatic input from our senses. All of this went on unwittingly, without our having exercised any conscious choice. Not only that, but out of our unconsciousness, ignorance, innocence, and naivety, plus the nature of the mind itself, we ended up as the composite of all the negative garbage prevalent in the world. I'm gonna give a moment for that. And he's right. He's so right. I read that and I was like, wow. Because we didn't have control over our beliefs growing up. We were born into this world like blank computers waiting to be programmed. So we picked up things from our family, our teachers, our friends, the experiences we've had, all the media we consume, and we ended up the composite of all the negative garbage in the world. And I think part of growing up and gaining awareness and consciousness over your life is realizing that yes, you were actually literally exploited, taken advantage of, manipulated as a young kid. And now you don't have to continue on buying into anything that you learned up until this point. Everything you learned, you can choose to release, unlearn, and learn something new if it's not something that's serving you. And that right there is what has changed my life, is knowing that I have the freedom to choose what I buy into, which thoughts I give energy to, what beliefs I want to have in my life to serve me reaching my dreams. And so David Hawkins says that to become conscious is to seek for the truth ourselves, instead of blindly being programmed either from without or from the voice in our heads that seeks to diminish us and our worth and our value, which came as a result of all of the beliefs we've picked up over time. But he says to get out of it, we have to accept the responsibility that we have bought into the negativity and have been willing to believe it. The way out of this is to start questioning everything. And I think that was the hardest part for me, was the fact that I had to take accountability. And I think that's why a lot of people may hear this and choose not to listen to it, because that's the beautiful part about choice. You don't have to listen to this. You can choose to pretend to live like you've never learned this information. And that's your choice, because it's your life. And I'm not here to judge you. That's not my place. But anyways, the point is, everything in your life right now has come as a direct result of the choices you've made or the lack of choices you've made. And you have to take accountability of that if you ever want to change. And so now I'll get into my story I was referring to earlier. A few years ago, I went through an extremely emotionally abusive relationship where I was lied to, betrayed, manipulated, stalked, etc., etc. It was not very pleasant. And when we finally ended things, I was very angry and I blamed him for everything. And before I continue, I want to say, like, nobody deserves that, and it's not okay for anyone to treat you that way. You don't deserve that. You deserve love and respect. And so I want to say that first and foremost. But going back, I placed a lot of blame on my ex-boyfriend when we split for what I had gone through with him. I could not understand how he could do that to me. Fair. And it was a drawn out anger and blame for him, and then, you know, I just kept kind of hitting a wall. Like, how do you get past that anger? You're never going to get the closure you need. You know, he's never going to acknowledge, or even if he does, it doesn't make it right. It doesn't actually fix anything. The closure that I needed was not from him apologizing. I'm sure, hopefully, he looks back and he knows what he did was wrong, and I'm sure he does. I hope. But the real closure I needed was an apology from myself. Because, and this was the hardest part, was that I had to accept accountability, that that relationship was a choice I made to stay in every day. And yes, I didn't know better at the time. I felt completely powerless. Like, I had no say in the situation, and that's how I lived. I believed I was powerless, and that's what showed up in my reality. And so when I left and I realized, wow, I had a choice. Like, I had a choice every single day. Even though he made me think I didn't, I had the choice. I could have left. I did not have to stay. And that hurt me so bad, because it's not even what he did anymore that's causing me to be so upset. It's the fact that I allowed it to continue to happen. That's what hurts the most, is that you betrayed yourself. I betrayed myself in that situation. And so I learned to stop blaming him, and then I started to blame myself. Now that's also problematic, because you didn't know any better. I did not know any better. And that's another important thing to realize, is that you were doing the best you could, just the same way he was doing the best he could, even though you really wonder how that's the best he could do. But he was obviously a struggling, mentally ill human being, like, in just the same way I was, by staying. Like, we all were struggling in the situation. Everyone is struggling, and we're all trying our best to figure it out. Nobody tells us how to deal with our emotions, how to love properly, how to love healthily. Like, these are things we haven't learned. And so we can't be angry and blame ourselves for not knowing any better, when nobody taught us this, and we didn't know. So I forgave that version of myself, because she was just trying to stay alive every day. And I'm grateful for her, actually, because she got me to where I am now. And that's the next point in the healing journey, is I've had to completely recontextualize what I've went through. I would not change a thing about that relationship. Not a thing. I would not go back and take it back. I wouldn't change anything, because that relationship is the reason that I am the way I am now. It's the reason I love myself as much as I do today. It's the reason I will never betray myself again. There's this beautiful quote on TikTok. It says, he needed to learn unconditional love, and I needed to learn self love. And that's it. It was a lesson. I will never make that mistake again. I will never hold myself in a situation for longer when I knew the whole time. I will always honor my intuition from here on out. I will treat myself as I'm worthy of the most healthy relationship, because I am. I'm very grateful for the way that life has played out, because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of the screen right now talking to you guys, telling you things I wish I knew, and trying to help you. At my core, my only mission, sorry, I'm getting emotional. My only mission in making videos is to help you love yourself. My mission is to make love the predominant ruling emotion of the world, because right now it is fear. We all live scared. We all act out of desperation, fear. We control and manipulate each other out of fear, and it doesn't have to be that way. I'm going on a really fucking crazy tangent. This has nothing to do with the video. But there is a world where we all love ourselves fully. We understand our own worth, where we act as in accordance with that worth, and we just love ourselves for everything that we are. So anyways, back to the video. So if there's been anything you've been blaming, maybe on your parents, on your ex, on your fucking dog dying, I don't know, you have the choice not to blame. You have the choice to forgive, accept, feel, acknowledge, and move on. And because emotions just want to be felt. We're not taught how to deal with our emotions. It's actually very simple. I've been on a very long journey of figuring it out. They just want to be seen and felt and not thought about. So I'm actually at a point where when I have fear, I feel it. It's a tight ball in my chest. I put on music and I sit and I just observe the ball in my chest, because it dismantles. And I tell myself, I love you with this ball, without this ball. I tell the fear I love it. Fear dissolves in the presence of love. And that's what consciousness is. It's just being aware, unconditionally accepting yourself for all that you are. So anyways, you can choose to be resentful, you can choose to hold blame, or you can choose to forgive. You can choose to act out of fear, you can choose to act out of love. And look, I know if you're still here and this is maybe the first time you've come into contact with this information, you might feel angry. It's going to feel like your parents, society, your teachers, all of these things, the media took advantage of you. And they kind of did. They took that blank computer and they programmed the shit out of it, okay? And that might be really saddening. That might be really angering. It's okay. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to cry. It's okay to stomp. It's okay to scream. It's okay to act like a little kid and just feel your emotions. That was the way we were intended to feel them. Because when you honor those feelings and you just give it a cry, 15 minutes, you're already feeling so much better. So honor your feelings. You'll be shocked at how little of a hold they can have on you when you just bring them into the light and say, I'm not judging you. I don't want to change you. I'm not resisting you. Feel it and it passes. So, wrapping up now, the final message I want to leave you with is that you have a choice. You have more power than you think, and you have a choice. You can make the choice right now to set an unwavering intention to honor yourself and the way you deserve, and to treat yourself with love and as if you are worthy, because you are. And you can choose to become more conscious and aware of what you're believing, what you're taking in, how it's impacting you, and whether you're okay with that. And so the rain is really starting. So I'm going to go back inside, but I love you guys very, very much. Very, very, very much. I know I can't see your face. I love you. I'm thinking and sending you so much love. I hope you can feel even just a fraction of the love I have in my heart for you. I will never stop showing up and believing in a world full of love. My name is Gracie, and I love you all very much. Do something kind for yourself today. Love you guys.